Hey, hello everyone. This is Richard with Richard Runs Trails. Today we're going to talk about Habanero and show you my new studio. I've put in a new boom mic, so hopefully everybody can hear me well. I've got my buckle case here. Uh, some of the larger trail running YouTubers have their buckle cams, and they only have a few buckles. I got a whole case of them, so maybe I'll show them off. I've had videos where I've gone through each one of them. They're pretty neat. But today I want to talk about Habanero. It's this weekend. It's actually on Saturday. Habanero 100 is a race that takes place in Cat Springs, Texas, which is kind of in the middle of Austin and Houston. It's really in the middle of nowhere. Cat Springs, Texas has kind of a general store, and that's about it. If you blink, you drive by it. Well, there's a ranch out there in Cat Springs, Texas called 7IO Ranch, and they have a lot of races. They even have some Spartan races. It's a horse ranch, so they've got a lot of different trails, and Trail Racing Over Texas puts on several events out there, and one of them is Habanero. They also put in the Jackalope Jam, which I actually participated in the ruck race. But 7IO Ranch has got a 10K loop, and I'll show you a video of it, and we'll go through it. I've actually done a video on it last year, and we'll go through it, and I'll point out some important things to note if you're going to be doing this race. And before I show the video, I'll go over some other things. This is a very difficult race. This is a master's level ultra, extremely high heat. The race starts at high noon, 12 noon, and it's so that it's the most difficult time of the day to start a race. So the first 7 hours is going to be very high heat. I think this weekend it might be a little bit cloudy, so probably be around 100, but it's not uncommon with the heat index to be 105, 110, and there's a lot of exposure on this course, which is why I'm excited. There's going to be clouds this weekend because it might have a little bit of rain. Clouds will block the sun, because it's one thing to have high heat, and if you're from the South, you're used to running in the heat. I'm a high heat runner. It doesn't bother me too much. But when you have direct sunlight, it can really drain you, especially if you're going to be running, 25 plus hours on a course. Because on this course, because it starts at high noon, if you're running the 100 miler, which I'm going to be doing, I changed my plans. I was planning to do the 100K, but I upgraded yesterday to the 100 miler because I think the weather conditions, I have finished the 50K out there. I've done the 100K, and I DNF'd the 100 miler last year because my feet got torn up, and switched from Ultra to Hoka Speedgoat 5s, and I've had a lot of success this year with those. So I'm thinking that's going to help me a lot this year. And but we'll talk about that more later when we start talking about the course, because there's some interesting things about the course that you need to know if you've never run this course before. So hydration, chafing, basically overall ultra project management is very critical in this race. It's a 10K loop, which has its benefits, but also has its downsides. The benefits is that you're going to go by the main aid station and where your maybe your bag is every 6 miles. That's the good news. The bad news, this is a very difficult race, so mentally you're going to have to think about, you can easily think about quitting every time you go through the main aid station, and you're going to do that 16 times. So if you're doing the 100K, you do it 10 times, and if you're doing the 50K, you're going to do it 5 times. So the first 6-7 hours is very critical. Very high heat. Just take it easy. Maintain a stable pace. You really got to protect yourself from the sun. Highly recommend, show you here, wear sport type of a sunblock. I usually wear 50. Works pretty well for me. The sport is important because if you spray some on your, you want to spray the back of your neck, of course, and I'll wear a hat. I might wear my bucket hat, which you'll see in my video. But if you wipe your face, you're going to be sweating a lot in this race. If you wipe your face and you don't have the sport version of the sunblock, it's going to burn your eyes, and it burns really bad. So you always want to use a sport type of sunblock. Chafing is very important to protect against in this race. You want to wear shorts um, that you have the more expensive shorts typically don't chafe as much, but unless you're 140 pounds and you have huge gaps between your legs and every other surface on your body, you're going to have an issue with chafing, just like most mid pack and back of the pack runners do. And I've done a chafing special. You can look back in my technical videos. I've gone over all the chafing type of products and what I think about each one of them, which one's better than others. But the one I've been using the most is actually one of the least expensive ones. And I use this chamois butter. Um, I'm not sponsored by them. I buy their product full price, just like everyone else. This product is really used a lot by cyclists. And I bought it by accident because I couldn't find the one I needed. I really like it because it's kind of a liquid. It works a lot like Trail Toes, which is another pretty good one. And the liquid ones are better because you can put them in spots, like in your butt and stuff like that. Places that it's hard to get a tube of something into. I like it a lot. I think it works pretty well, and you definitely want to lube up, between your legs and in your butt. Butt crack is really important. It sounds funny, but that's one of the most important places in the long ultra, especially of our high heat one. That's going to be a lot of salt, because if you chafe up that area, you're out of the race, man. It's so painful that it's difficult to finish. Other areas you want to lube up is under your arms and also the back of your back, around your waist, because if you're wearing a hydration vest, it will chafe you after a while. All of them do. I mean, I've got UD, I've got Ultra Aspire, all of them. I tried them all. But when you're carrying water for that long, over a day, it's going to chafe you up. And under your arms, where the hydration vest goes under your arms, you want to do there. And then if you're men, of course, you want to do your nipple area. That's quite important. Some people use those tape and put it on there. I guess that works fine too. But you want to use good sun protection. And what else can I say about this race? They have 2.5 aid stations. The starting line aid station is the biggest one. The food, I warn you, the food since the pandemic at all the races is not very good. And I'm not just knocking on trail racing over Texas, it's Tejas trails as well. And it's just, they just don't offer as much thing. It used to be they have soup and all kinds of things, but you're lucky if you get peanut butter sandwiches and some potatoes sometimes, maybe some ramen. But you might want to bring some of your own food. The advantage is you're going to pass your main bag every loop. That's what I do. I keep some food in my bag, some special bars that I like. And then also, I've been using Gatorite, which is a very sweet electrolyte. It's expensive, but it works pretty well. After a while, you get really tired of how sweet it is, but it works really well for me. This race is the hydration and salt management is critical, especially during the day. And if you're running the 100-mile, you're going to hit the day twice. That's really tough. You've been running all night long. The night is pretty pleasant. You can kind of get some cool breeze and some fog, in the middle of the night. And I think the night is pretty pleasant out there. I finished a 100-mile out there before the Jalapeno 100, which is in October, November timeframe. It's a little bit cooler. But at night, I've been out there many times racing at night. It's nice. But during the day, it's extremely hot. And if you're running the 100-miler, it's going to get you twice. So you need to be prepared. Let me pull up the video and we can talk about the course a little bit. And we'll do that. Okay, you should see, so in the video here, this is the beginning of my video. You see me standing at the gate. So that's what the gate of 7IL Ranch looks like. And, it's got the U.S. flag on one side, Texas flag on another. So once you get to Cat Springs, there's a little road that jogs off of the main road, and you go about 2 miles down this dirt road. As you're driving up, you'll see one of the aid stations that you'll see in the race, so you know that you're going the right way. But you'll want to turn into 7IL Ranch when you see these two flags. And they're not real flags, they're just signs. And it'll say 7IL Ranch. So you'll drive up this road about a mile, and you'll see the main start area and where you need to park. You need to drive past the main starting area and go to the parking lot. And be prepared that you're going to have to pay the landowner, David, that owns Seven Isle Ranch, $10 per person. So this is not included in your entry fee. So it's important to know. They're going to give you a wristband. You don't have to put it on, but you need to keep it just to prove that you've paid the entry fee into the place. And once you park, then you can bring your drop bag up to the main starting line and find a good place. It's kind of nice because it's kind of a U-shaped at the starting line. You run in a chute and then you run back out on the loop. So move this to the beginning of the race. If anybody has any questions, let me know. We can talk about anything. Okay, I got a little bit far here. Okay, so back behind me here, I filmed this one on a weekend that they were not having the race. There's this cow gate here. That gate will be open, but back behind me on down that road is where the main starting line is. So you'll come through this gate and you're going to make an immediate right. You'll see. Seven Isle Ranch is a really nice place, and it's very convenient for the race director because it's not influenced by any cities. It can't be canceled because of COVID or anything like that. So actually, there's a second gate that you need to go through before you turn right. Spoke a little bit too soon. And if you'd like to see this preview video that I did last year, it's in my video collection. Just look under Habanero course preview. So you can see the sand here. There's a lot of sand on this course, and there's some sections worse than others. And this is important. And once we get to the first main sand area, I'll explain the importance of that. This is a horse trail, so they put sand down in many sections to make the horses comfortable. Well, it doesn't make people comfortable. It makes it a little bit more difficult for running. So this is the course. You're running up this fence line. This is a very runnable kind of single track through here. There's actually a new section that they added last year. Previously, it went through a bunch of brush. But it goes up here along this fence line. And this is where I put sand starts. One thing very important in this race, and if you learn anything from this video, you learn this one thing I'm fixing to tell you. You need to wear gaiters. If you don't wear gaiters, the chances of DNF, I would say, is probably 90%. The sand is going to get in your shoes. And I see so many people do it, and they're stopping, trying to dump the sand out of their shoes. That just doesn't work on a course like this because there's so many sand sections in the 10 kilometers or 6.2 miles. So this is real critical. If you're wearing Hoka shoes, you can wear Dirty Girl gaiters, or I just bought some new Solomon gaiters I plan to wear on top of my Hoka shoes. Unfortunately, Hoka doesn't have a gaiter system. I'll stop here for a second. If you're wearing Ultra, their gaiter system works well. That's what, the 4-point gaiter system. Just buy some Ultra gaiters. You can buy those at REI. If you don't have time to get some from Amazon or Ultra Direct, you can buy them. So here the course jogs to the left, and this is the first major sand section. So this sand, I put deep sand. This sand is probably 6 to 8 inches deep. You can see people post holing in the sand. What you want to do is kind of try to run on the outside of these sand pits. And after the races have gone on for a while, there'll be more of a line to follow. But you also got to make sure that you be careful when you're running these outside lines for snakes, because I have seen rattlesnakes out here. I haven't seen them in the sand pit sections. I'll show you where I've seen them before. But there are snakes out here. This is a very rural ranch. And if there's a lot of horses and stuff out there, it scares the snakes away. But and the runners will too. I mean, and the lead pack usually scares them away. But I have seen them, especially around dawn and dusk. So you got to be careful on the outsides of these sections. You want to run down the center of the section when you can. But you can see there's a lot of sand, and this will get in your shoes and just ruin your day. Um, need to wear gaiters. I can't stress it enough. Then we get more into a grass section. They do a pretty good job of cutting the grass before the race. Last year it was a little bit longer than I would like, but they do get out with a shredder and shred it down. There's another sand section here. But you can see there's no tree coverage. You're getting a lot of direct sun. So unless it's cloudy, you're going to get direct sun. So you need to be wearing a hat and you need to be wearing good sun protection. This is kind of a comfortable section here. This is all just grass. Pretty pleasant. However, it will make your feet wet in the early morning hours because of the dew that gets in the grass. So that's another good reason to have gaiters on, so that water and wetness doesn't get down in your shoes and socks. And what I always wear Injinji socks or Exoskins toe socks at races, I think it's even more critical at this race because it protects the sand from getting some, even with gaiters, you're going to get some sand in your shoes, and it protects the sand from getting in between your toes, which will cause blisters between your toes. So I highly recommend toe socks. So here, we start to jog to the left. We're starting to get near to the main ranch road that goes into 7IL. Another sand pit, pretty deep sand. Like I said before, you wanna run the outside lines on this one. If you run through the middle, it's really deep. Um, like I said before, if you just join me, chafing is a real big issue at this race. You want to make sure you're lubed up really well. And I typically re-lube every like 50K. So if you're doing 100K, you probably need to do it twice. And of course, it's easier to re-lube once you're, especially at the main aid station, once it's dark, I think. So if you're running the 100-miler, I think once it gets dark is a good time to re-lube, and it might last you the rest of the race. I usually, on a 100-miler, just lube up twice. Unless you kind of, you go to the toilet or something and you wipe all that stuff out, you need to re-lube again. But your private areas and front and back is really critical in this race. The high heat and salt and sand, it will just tear you up. Probably a majority of the reason people DNF at this race, and there's a high DNF rate, I would say more than 60%, is because of the chafing. Okay, this is coming up into a really important thing I want to tell you about. This is the ranch road coming in, and there's an aid station here. It's a non-managed aid station, meaning that there's nobody working the aid station. It just has water and ice. Okay. I want back up a little bit here. Got ahead of myself. Okay, when you come through here and you come to the ranch road coming in, it's really critical that you go through, the gate's closed here, but the gate will be open. You want to go to the left. Not go to the left. Go through the gate and go to the right. Last year, about 15 people went to the left, and basically that trail will take you back to the starting line. So don't follow other people. You need to learn the route and understand it well. So when you come up to the gate, hey, JMJ, thanks for joining, man. How you doing, buddy? I'm just going over the race course for this weekend. So like I say here, not a left hook. Last year I was running this race. I saw 15 people go take a left hook here, and they went back to the starting line. So you want to go through the gate, and then there's going to be an aid station right here with just ice and water. You'll pass that aid station on the way back too, because like that left hook I just showed you is about 1.5 miles from the running area, from the start finish line. Yeah, it's a nice area to run. There's a lot of sand though. You just have to protect your shoes with gaiters. Otherwise you get sand in your shoes and it'll tear it up. This is Cat Springs, Texas. This is near Houston. This is a horse ranch. That's why there's a lot of sand. but there's a big race this weekend we're doing. It's a nice place. They do a real good job. Just it's going to be very hot this weekend. Right here, there's a old trailer. It's kind of a funny one. It looks like it looks pretty creepy and haunted at night when you pass it, because when you pass it on this trail, you'll be shining your light into it. This area here is pretty comfortable running. It's sandy trail, but it's not deep sand. It's half-inch deep or something like that. It's just like running on regular single track, and very comfortable. So you're going to go up here for probably another eighth of a mile, and then we're going to have a creek crossing. This is a section you can move pretty fast. It's one of the nicer sections of the course, but you are exposed to the sun, and you get some shade in here, but you are exposed. They usually mow this down pretty well. You can see it's kind of a farm road, but they use it for the horseback riding and everything. Yeah, J&J, it's a nice trail. It's a 6.2 mile trail through a horse ranch. Right here, there's some deep sand, like I put in my video before. Run on the ridges. So on the left and right side of this trail, there are ridges you can run through, and you'll see the trail because people will be running on it. But like I said, especially around dusk and dawn, be careful of snakes, because snakes will cross this trail. Rattlesnakes, what they'll do is they'll kind of park themselves on the side of the trail looking to cross it. Sometimes they'll just sit there for a long time waiting for small animals and stuff. So if you're running down the center of a trail, you're almost never going to encounter a rattlesnake. But if you're running along the side of a trail, you have to be careful. They don't want anything to do with you. They're defensive. But if you step on one, it's going to be a problem. Generally, so here's a creek crossing. You want to go to the left and jump it and go to the left. There's been a lot of rain. You want to go further to the left. But if there's not much rain, you can just jump it. So this is finishing mile 1. But like I was saying about rattlesnakes, they're defensive, and they'll just cross the trail, won't bother you. If you come up on one, just stop, and it will go on its way. It won't bother you. You never want to throw a rock at it or aggravate it or do anything like that. But I've run into a lot of rattlesnakes in different race venues, and including this one, and they just cross the trail and keep going. They don't want anything to do with you. But typically you'll see them at dawn when the sun's coming up, or dusk, a few hours before as it's getting dark. They don't like to be out in the sun. They do some sunning on the trail, but the animals really don't like the heat. Yeah, I bet in Nebraska that'd be a nice place to run, especially if there's some cornflakes or mulch or something like that. I ran on a course one time that had a lot of mulch, and that was really comfortable. This back section is running on top. It's just running on top of grass. They mow it down, and it's going along a fence line. It's a very comfortable place to run. You do get some tree coverage on this part of the course, depending on where the sun is. And like right now in this video, you're getting a lot of shade. I think I was running probably about no, it was in the morning. Actually, it's around 10 or 11. So this race starts at high noon. So you're going to be getting more sun. But you do get some tree coverage in this area. Up here, as we go a little bit further, you're gonna cut off to the left. It's an important sign that shows you where to cut off and go to the left. Because if you don't, you go straight, then you're gonna have to turn around and come back, because there is a trail that goes straight as well. So after I cut left and I came back on the trail, part of my video I was not usable, but I'm back going straight again along a fence line. So in this part of the course, from like mile 1 to mile 2.5, you're running along fence lines. This is the area that I saw rattlesnakes last year, actually. They were just crossing this trail trying to get into this cattle area. So you got to be careful because off here to the left, there's a lot of brush. And I saw them, I think it was probably around 7 o'clock at night. So typically, right before dark is when you'll see the most snakes. But in previous races, I've raced out here 3 times. The previous races, I didn't see any snakes, but last year I saw 2. But this area here, as you go further, we're going to go into more fields, and you're really going to get a lot of direct sunlight. Show you the shirt. We're just going on the court. We're going down through the fields. This is a shirt, the Habanero. They usually have nice shirts. Last year they had a tank top, and right here I've got a Habanero buckle. They're typically black with a red pepper on the side. Habanero being the spiciest pepper, one of them. That's why they name it after that. Right here, you're running through a field. It's a cattle grazing field, but they mow it down to create the trail. And this is also a part of the course where you're going to see some ranchers' houses and stuff. You will hear some dogs and stuff sometimes, and the cows and bulls will come out near the trail, but there's a fence, so they don't bother you. And also these ranchers out here, they know there's a lot of events going on at the 7 Isle Ranch, so it doesn't bother them to see people running through the field with lights on their head in the middle of the night. They're not going to think you're a poacher or anything. They really know what's going on. So this is a start of mile 2. Like I said before, this is a 6-mile course, or 10K, 6.2 mile course. So if you're running the 50K, you're going to do it 5 times, 100K 10 times, and 100 miler, you're going to do it 16 times. And the best strategy I think for this course is, in your mind, you run 1 10K at a time. You don't think about the long distance ahead of you. It's just a better way to mentally get a hold of what you're doing. But I think of 1 10K at a time, and as I go through, I think about how many 10Ks I've done. And the 100 miler, loop 10 through 16 is really tough because that's a second day usually, and you're very tired and beat up. But this section here goes straight for a long time through this field. Off here to the right is a fence line, so the cows and stuff are not going to come out on this trail. This tree here is kind of famous within our community because one year a gentleman had a heart attack and passed away right here. So there's a little memorial here to the side of the tree. There I got passed by a horse there. When I was out filming, there were a lot of horses out on the trail. But you can see here off to the right, you're passing a ranch. There's a lot of cattle and bulls and stuff. It's kind of nice to see during the day because this course can be kind of monotonous. I mean, you're running the same thing over and over again. You're chatting with fellow runners, but it's nice to see the animals as well. This is an area of the course that you can run pretty fast. You'll see the elite runners, running 6-7 minute miles through here. You can run fast, but I will warn you, if you're a mid-pack and back of the pack runner, one thing that causes people a lot of problems on this course, it's not a real difficult course. You have the sand and all that, but what gets people is they go out too fast. And if you're running 100 miles, that's 100 miles on any course is really tough. And the faster courses like this one and Rocky Raccoon, a lot of people make errors in going out too fast, and they really run into a lot of trouble late in the race because they're just too beat up. You want to evenly pace yourself. Now the elite runners, these sections here, they will run real fast, but they're not like most of us runners. So you want to make sure that you're running a pace that you typically do in training. I typically run 30 seconds, around 30 seconds slower than I do in training. And then I degrade over the course of the race. But you want to be very careful, especially in the first quarter of the race, not to run too fast. These sections here, you can run fast. You get rain. If we get rain, this section here gets a little bit muddy. But most of the course, there's not much problem with mud. There's some ditches that you have to go through. So if it rains or has a lot of rain the day before, this course doesn't get influenced by the rain too much. Now, some of the creek crossings, you may have to be a little more clever in crossing them. Here's the end of one field. This gate will be open during the race. So you want to come through the gate and then you're going to make a right. This section here, hey, Mihai, thanks for joining. Yeah, I'm going over the course that we have. Habanero 100 is this weekend, so I'm around mile 3 right now. This is a 10K loop. So this section here, you can get some mud if there's some rain. When I ran on this course, previewing it last year, there was heavy rain a couple of days before the race, before my filming. So this section here can get a little bit muddy, but it's one of the few sections on the whole course that gets muddy. A little bit of a incline here, not too much, maybe 1-2% grade. Most of this course is very flat. You'll get there's a little bit of a hill here, but as you get to the top of the hill, we're going to go downhill, and then we're going to go through a big ditch. One interesting thing about this course is I have done this loop. I calculated like 45 times over the years. Amazing. This ranch I've run over 300 miles at because I've done so many races out here. So this 10K loop I've got memorized in my mind. It's bizarre, you know. It's a ranch out in the middle of nowhere, and I know it so well. I don't even live there. Yeah. Oh yeah, hey, I know it's late, Mihai. Yeah, have a good rest. So right here, we start to go downhill. This is a grass cut section. It's very comfortable, easy running. Like I said, I've done this loop maybe over 40 times, something like that. And so you get to know it pretty well. If you do the 100 miler out here, doing it 16 times, you're going to know it pretty well too. So you come down in here into the trees, and then we're going to come around this corner and go into a big ditch. Now, only 1 year I've run through this ditch, and there's been some water in it. And during this filming, there was some water in there. It was very wet. And that was because there was heavy rain several days before. Well, in Texas, we haven't had any rain in several months, so this should be very dry on Saturday. So you can fly down this little hill here. But this day I was filming, it was very muddy. So you come through here, you kind of navigate, watch for snakes in this area. There also could be water moccasins in this area because this connects to a pond. So then you want to climb out of here. Late in the race, this is a tricky climb, especially at night. So you got to be careful. And then when you get out of that, you got a flat section again. So I think we're getting close to mile 3. We're coming up on the main aid station out on the course. So you're going to come through here, come down through here. This is a very comfortable section to run. Like I said, it's cut grass. Hopefully they cut it shorter. 1 year was a little bit high, but you can really blast through this area because you're going downhill. I think it's probably a 2 or 3% decline. Very comfortable section. So you're going to go straight for a while. This starts to be a pretty rural part of the course where there's nobody living, so you can see animals out here. I've had coyotes get very close to me. Other than that, I haven't seen much animal. I haven't seen very many animals out on the course. I know they have fox hunts out here with hunters, so there's got to be foxes on the course. I've never seen one though. I guess because on run day, when you have a couple hundred runners, they scare them away. But definitely at night, you're going to hear the coyotes. There's quite a few of them in this area, but I've never had any get too close to me. Still running downhill. We just went through one gate, And this is a comfortable section of the course. It's all downhill, pretty well padded due to the grass. And one of the nice things about Seven Isle Ranch, you're not going to run into many rocks, and that's unusual in Texas because most of our courses are very rocky and technical. This course has no rocks. I think either they have removed them or they just don't have any. Maybe naturally it didn't have any, but they do have sand, and that can be tough. Makes you tired running through sand, and like I said before, you need to be wearing gaiters. If you don't, you're going to really have trouble with your feet. In regards to feet, I wear toe socks, like I mentioned earlier. I don't put any kind of lubricant on my feet. I know some people do that. Some people put powder on there. I've never had a need to do that. And if I wear toe socks and gaiters, typically after 100K, 100 miler, I might have some small blisters, but typically my feet are pretty well protected. Last year when I tried to do the 100 miler, I did get more blisters than normal. I'm not real sure why. It just was an odd year. It was extremely hot, and I was wearing my Olympus 4s. This year I'm going to be wearing my Speedgoat 5s. I think I'm going to do much better on foot care wearing my Speedgoats. The Ultra Olympuses are very well. They give you a lot of protection, but they're a big, heavy shoe. So I'm kind of going down in weight a little bit and going more EVA drop. So I'm trying something new this year. I'm hopeful that it's going to work better for me. I've had good success this year so far. So here you're going to make a turn through these trees. In previous years, they had the aid station right here. But what they've done now is they've moved it about a quarter of a mile further up the hill. And the reason they have done that is so it's near a road going to a house, so that if they need to evacuate anyone, it's much easier for them to get to it. So as you came out of that section, this is the main hill that you're going to run into. There's two big hills. This course is extremely flat, but this is one hill you're going to run into. So you're going to climb this hill. I typically jog up it. Later in the race, I may power hike up this hill and use it as a time to take in some hydration or eat something from the aid station. Actually, the aid station, we haven't hit the aid station yet. Previous years, you could eat up this hill, but the aid station is coming up very soon, and then the second hill you can eat going up it. But one thing to save time that I always do is I do not stay at the aid station. I fill up my bladder. I get the food that I want to eat. Hey, Wilson, thanks for joining. I get the food that I want to eat, and then I get on my way. And if it's potatoes or something, I'll just put the cup in my vest and throw it away later. You can save a lot of time doing that. I see a lot of people stopping and spending 10, 15 minutes at an aid station. I don't recommend that, especially if you're in the middle of the pack or back of the pack. This is where they have the aid station. It's off this road that goes to the main road. There's a house off here to the left. I don't know if I remember if I showed that in my video or not. No, I don't. Anyways, you go through that aid station. That's the main aid station. That's out on, it's 3 miles into the course. Actually, it's probably around 3.5 miles. Then you're going to come down a hill, and when you see the pond, you're going to go right around this. There'll be markers showing you this, but once it gets at night, it's, you'll start to memorize this, but it's harder. It's a little trickier navigating. So you're going to make a right here, and there's a gate here, but during the race, the gate will be open. So this is a trail going up another hill. All this mess here is not going to be here. It will be cleaned up. When I went through here, there was a big mess there. Also, it was very wet. It's going to be very dry. So this is the second major hill. Typically, I like to eat something going up this hill because you'll have passed the aid station, and there won't be any water. You're seeing water here because it was heavy rain the day before I filmed. This is a good place to take in hydration and nutrition, and either power hike or jog up the hill. But it's one of 2 main hills on the course. The rest of the course is very flat. This will probably be one of the flattest courses you run on. But like I said before, the difference between it and a lot of ultras is the sand and the exposure. On this day that I filmed, you can see there was quite a bit of clouds, but if the clouds break loose and let the sun through, you just really get fried on this course. So you need to make sure you need to make sure you're wearing a hat and sun protection. If you're tuning in on my podcast, I highly suggest you can listen to the audio and you'll learn about a lot about what's going on at this race. But I highly suggest you also visit my YouTube channel, which is also Richard Runs Trails, and view the videos, because I do upload the audio from this video or live stream to my podcast, which is on Anchor and Apple Podcasts. There's about 8 different venues you can get my podcast. I haven't been uploading a lot of podcasts lately. It's probably been a month or so, but I'm going to start doing it more regularly, especially since I really get into interviewing more now that I've got my boom mic and I've got my office set up some. So it's one way if you're out running. Of course, you can listen to YouTube's videos when you're running, but podcasts are more convenient because it takes less data. But this is a downhill section here. You're coming downhill. This is a comfortable section. Be careful here. As you can see right through here, there's 2 ruts, and the ruts are made by trucks coming through here, and they can be 3 or 4 inches deep, and there's some holes in these sometimes, especially at night. So be very careful putting your feet in these ruts. It's actually easier to run on top of the grass because you might trip on one of the edges. And last year there was a hole in one of the ruts, and someone twisted their ankle in the hole. You gotta be careful. So when you get down here to the bottom, there's a pond here. So you're gonna make a right and go around this pond. You're gonna see here. The day that I filmed that the grass was kind of high, this is gonna be all mowed down. So you're gonna keep running until you get closer to this pond. And then you're going to run down and around the edge of it. There's a pond there. It's nice. It's pretty, but be careful running through here at night because there could be snakes, water moccasins. Snakes want water, and there's not much water on this course right now because there's a drought. So you're going to go up here to the top of the bank, and then you're going to make a left and go around the pond until you get back on the trail. So there's a trail through here. This is a very comfortable section to run. It's grass. It's mowed down. Then when you get up here, you're basically departing the pond area, and you're going to get back on the main yellow trail. I believe they call it the yellow trail. The whole course is on the yellow trail. So you're going to make a right here. Got some sun protection in this section of the course, which is nice. And you start to see some more sand and clay. Hey, thanks, Mihai. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining. And then as you're running this way, this is kind of a comfortable section to run because you got some tree coverage, and the sand is on the trail, but it's half inch deep. It's like running on single track, so it's comfortable and it's not going to bother you. Around here, we're starting to get close to kind of mile 4. I always like this section of the course because in my mind, I'm telling myself, yeah, you're almost finishing another loop. And this part of the course is more comfortable than the first half of the course. First half of the course is a lot of exposure to the sun. This area is kind of shaded, and it's a comfortable part of the course to run on because of grass and very thin sand. And you know that you're going to be finishing the loop in the near future. So it's kind of a nice section to be at. One thing about these bushes, though, these are small trees. Sometimes they have a lot of spider webs in them, so you gotta be careful and get too close, especially when you first start the race. After a while, everybody's hit them and knocked them down, but I've run into some spider webs running through the sections like this. Like I said, Habanero 100 is this weekend. It's in Cat Springs, Texas. Um, it's one of the big races during the summer in Texas. There's just not many races going on in Texas. Most of them, the races in Texas are at night during the summer because of the heat. But this one is supposed to be a hot race, so it's during the day and at night, depending on what distance you're running. It's a good time. It's really is. There's a really good turnout because the race has been held for many years. Here, the section is very similar to the previous section, just running through a lot of low hanging trees, so there's good sun protection. Also, this weekend is UTMB. The race will be ongoing when I'm racing, but I really hope to look at it after after my race next week. Yeah. UTMB, who's your favorite in UTMB? Let me know in the comments. Um, I'm really hoping that Jim Walmsley will win this year. I saw one of his interviews, and Tim Tollefson, I think, has also got a good chance. I think the Europeans probably are the favorites. Killian and Francois Haynes. Basically, all the superstars. I'm not sure if the gentleman from Spain, I forget his name, is racing, but it's a really steep competition. The Americans really had a better chance to win last year. But this year, Jim Walmsley's been living in France for 2 months, so let's see how he does. I watched his interview yesterday. I'm really hoping Jim can win that race. That's ongoing this weekend, so highly recommend to check out the UTMB. It's Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. It's the biggest race in Europe. They run around Mont Blanc and through Italy and Switzerland. Here's a deep sand section on this backside of the course. This is a really deep sand. What you want to do here is run the outside line or inside lines. You don't want to run in the sand ruts. The sand ruts, pretty deep sand. Then it turns back to grass here. And then as it gets to the end of this field, it's going to turn left, and you're going to hit one of the most sandy sections of the course. Show that in a minute. This section here is not too bad because it's grass. But the sections that have thick sand with no grass are the roughest ones to run through because it just basically post hole in the sand. So what you want to do is run on the lines that most people are running, which are mainly on the inside and outside of the sand pits. You're making a left under this tree. There's some sand here. It's not too bad, but the deep sand up here this pink sand is not too deep, but this white sand is deep. So I typically want to run on the outside of this. There is some grass here, but this sand pit goes on for probably 50 yards. Yeah. So there off to the left is very deep. I run on the outside line all the way up, and then we're gonna make a right and go across a small creek. I expect that creek this year, well, you're gonna see in this video, there's quite a bit of water in it, but I expect that creek will have almost no water. It'll be like a real small stream, so you can jump over it pretty easily. Now, every year you have to jump over it. You don't want to go through it, but this year it's going to be easier to jump over it. Now, even the year I filmed it wasn't too bad, but this can be very muddy, so you have to be careful. This is like a clay. You jump over this. I expect the stream to be much narrower than it is right there. You jump over this, and then it's kind of a clay that you're running through here. If it's wet, it can be very slippery, but if not, it's very runnable. So it's kind of it's an uphill run here, but it's not very far. Then you get back into a grass section again. This area is not too bad. It's comfortable. If it rains a lot, this there can be a lot of water on the ground. There was the year that I filmed here, but I expect this year to be very dry. This section is not bad at all. I just stopped there and pulled some thorns out of my socks. If they don't cut the grass down very well, um, there's a lot of thorns on the course. You have to be careful. Here, when I filmed, there was a lot of water. I don't expect there to be a lot of water this year. I don't expect there to be any water. So now we're getting into mile 5. So really, there's a mile and a half left to of the course. A little bit of an uphill here, but it's really not noticeable. Really, on this course, there's 2 main hills. The rest of the course you'll think is pretty flat. Just the frustrating part's going to be the sand. And once you know where those places are and know the lines to take, your first lap you'll be learning a lot. But once you learn where the lines are, the best lines to run, there won't be any problem. Just make sure you wear gaiters. I've said that many times, but if you don't wear gaiters on this course, you're going to get a lot of sand in your shoes and it's going to be uncomfortable. Now, if you're running just 30K or 20K, I mean, they've got 10, 20, 30K, 50K. If you're running one of the shorter races, it's not a big deal. But if you're running 50K or longer, if you don't wear gaiters, your feet's going to get torn out. If you don't have gaiters, and the race is only a few days, if you don't have gaiters, the best place to go buy them in person is REI. REI has a couple different types of gaiters. Some people wear road shoes on this course. I don't recommend it. I think you should wear trail shoes because you're going through the sand. And there's supposed to be some rain this weekend. I think the forecast said 30 to 50%, which really means nothing or very little. But in the mornings, when I say mornings, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you get fog and mildew out here. All the grass gets wet. Your socks are going to get wet. So it's real important to have the gaiters. And road shoes just don't have much protection, because they're low cut and stuff. I think the trail shoes, you don't need them for the rock plate, but to wear trail shoes out here, you're going to get better traction because you're going to slip in the grass or on the clay or on there is could be a few muddy sections, and you got 2 creek crossings you need to jump. So I've seen some elite runners out here with road shoes, just flying through. I don't suggest it though. I think 90% of the runners, unless you're extremely, high level elite runner, don't try this course in road shoes. If you do, you're going to be slipping and have some problems. Now, this part of the course, very easy, very runnable. We're fixing to go out towards the main road again, and basically, you run parallel to the main road going in 7IL. It's kind of a power line section, but it's an easy power line section. You see the power line above us. You're basically running straight up this hill. It's not a very steep hill. It's maybe only a few percent grade. It's a very joggable hill. And when you get up here near the gate, you're going to make a right, and you're going to go to the final part of the loop. Here's the aid station that I talked about when we first started the video. So it's only water and ice. If you're finishing your race, you probably can skip it, but I don't suggest skipping it if you're doing a really long race, because ice is very important. Some people I've used arm sleeves in the past. I'm not using them this year. Some people put ice in their hat. Ladies put it in their bra. What works well for me is I fill up my hydration bladder with mostly ice. and it's so hot that the ice is going to melt pretty fast anyways. So I'm getting cooled off through my hydration bladder, through my back. That's what I do. But, highly recommend, using, cooling, cooling devices such as putting ice in your hat or arm sleeves or putting it in your bra or whatever. I don't like to dump too much on myself because it is taking away your sunblock, and I just don't like to be too wet. I'm going to be wet anyways because of all the sweating. So everyone's different, but make good use of the ice, especially if you like to use ice. So this is a long sand section here on the back side of the course. So we're basically running straight for about 3/4 of a mile. This is taking us back up to the start finish line. But there are some sand sections here along this fence line. Like I said before, you want to stay on the left or the right side. There are some sand sections, but it does get comfortable after a while and you run in grass. But there is a slight incline on this section. Then it gets flat. Then you go downhill a little bit. Let me know what you think about my boom mic. I think I like it a lot. It took a little bit to put it together. I put it back together today, but it's one of these Yeti blue boom mics. I like it a lot. I'm planning to get my logo printed and put it behind me on the wall. So now we're coming into the home stretch turn. So once you get to the top of the hill from that straight section, you're gonna start to turn left, and this is going to take us back onto this gravel road that'll take us to the start finish. And if you're running, what's going to happen is you're going to go down to the end of this road, and you're going to go through a chute, and your sensor is going to register that you finished the lap, and then you're going to come, you go through this U-shaped loop, and then you're going to come right back out here to this gate here, and then go off to the left and go back on out on your next loop. So I can't remember how far I showed this. Yeah, okay. So I did go back and I show you, okay. So the start finish is about 200 yards ahead here through this gate. That's my video. If you'd like to see that preview video full screen, just go back into my my channel and then search Habanero Course Review, and you'll pull up that video. It was done last year. I think I did it July of 2021. Then you can watch it over again and stop it as you need to see the different parts of the course. But the course should be exactly the same. It's always been the same, with the exception of one change in the first part of the course. But for the most part, even the race director says there's no change, but there was actually a small change. But it's been pretty much the same for many years. So check out the video if you're racing this weekend. Look forward to seeing you. You'll be able to see me. I'm going to have my Richard Runs Trails hat. I may have it on backwards. I like to wear my hats backwards during running because it protects the back of my neck. But if you see me, give me a shout out. I'd like to meet you. And so I wish everyone a great weekend. If you're not racing this weekend, highly suggest you check out the UTMB race. They have a very good live feed on YouTube with many different cameras. It's amazing. They actually do the best. They do better than Arivipa. They do better in Western States. It's amazing. They have cameras on bicycles following runners up the hills, at the aid stations. The tracking is incredible. It's really neat. If you're into trail running and want to watch the pros or watch friends finish UTMB, highly suggest check out their channel this weekend. I plan to watch it after my race this weekend. So wish everybody the best this week, and have a great weekend. If you're out at Habanero, say hello to me. I'd like to chat with you. Take care. Bye-bye.